Yeah, cool. What are you, Max, by the way?
I'm in London at the minute.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah, and you're in New York, I believe.
Yeah, in Brooklyn. I am not from there, as you can
No,
probably
I
guess.
was gonna say, yeah, you're a native Scotsman.
I
Um,
am, yeah. It's
yeah,
I've been here a while, but it doesn't seem to the accent doesn't seem to shift. So
yeah. Well,
here we
I'm a
are. But
yeah,
yeah.
I'm a northerner, so I've been in London about
Yeah,
4 years, so I've not lost that yet, thank God.
keep it. You got to keep that regional pride. It's makes the world more interesting.
This is it. This is it. So you've been in the US since your twenties, I believe, mid twenties.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I started out in I was at art school in Scotland, moved to London. I really just wanted to design record sleeves. Let me just shut off all these beeps and blips right now. So I moved to London. I worked in the music industry, designing record sleeves for, these small, medium, large bands from pop, really
Yeah,
bad stuff, E17, to good stuff, everything but the girl, and rock and indie at that time. So yeah, I moved down there, and then I subsequently hightailed it to the US with a snowboard and a portfolio because I liked standing sideways, skating, surf, snowboarding, and got a job with an agency there. Did all Burton Snowboards, so I was the creative director for Burton for many years, hanging out of a helicopter at 14,000 feet, doing stupid stuff, making graphic design and all that. So yeah, it was fun, good times.
wow, yeah, quite a journey.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of not so cool stuff along the way, but generally I've been quite fortunate to land on my feet. I'm from a pretty small fishing town in the northeast of Scotland, so but yeah, it's been a fun ride. I don't know if you want me to expand on that. I'm happy to, but
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's quite a big leap going over to the US. I know you said you spent time in London as well, but would you
yeah.
recommend that, like for young people looking for opportunities for work now from the UK, maybe looking over in the US?
Yeah, I think we're so anesthetized and safe in our surroundings. I mean, I went over with I think I had $200 in a bag. Um, Hopefully Donald Trump and his people are not listening in on this,
Yeah.
but I got out there and just hustled and put myself out there and I really wanted to work in the snow industry, specifically snowboarding, and loved what Jake Burton was doing at the time from a design standpoint and just from an innovation standpoint. I think he was doing really cool, interesting work and like developing a whole subculture of sport that hadn't existed. And to be part and parcel of that and being along for the ride, literally and figuratively, helping design and shape that. I just feel really fortunate for me. Record sleeves and designing record sleeves in London was amazing. That was my first foray. I just wanted to do that, move to London, put myself out there. I didn't get paid much, but creatively was really challenged and got some great work out of it. Same as my move to America. So, I mean, for any young designers, creatives, thinkers, um, that's Matt coming now. I think it's just important to like really scare yourself a wee bit and and do that. You can always get big salaries. Well, you can hustle for that, but from a creative standpoint, I always tell young designers, get as much experience, get as much work, even if you can survive, obviously, and keep your head above water, do work that's creatively interesting and challenging to you. Don't just take the paycheck in your early years, like really push it. So, um, yeah,
That sounds
my only words
important.
of wisdom.
Yeah. That sounds important that you're doing something you enjoy with the record sleeves and the snowboarding stuff. At athletics, you work a lot with football brands. Have you always been passionate about football?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of it's a long, winding journey, but I think, growing up in Scotland, you have two sports to be interested in. One is football, one is rugby. I did both. I like both. I wasn't particularly good as a youth, but I grew to love it and get better as I got older. I think physically you grew up, but for me, it's always represented community and identity, and it's the thing that you would do at the weekend with your grandparents or your friends. You go and see the local match. And it was a sense of pride, sense of identity. So it was more than just a sport, it was culture. Um, and I think the past 20 years have really seen a confluence of all of that, between art, culture, music. I think that's sort of where it started out for me. Also in 1977, I received a really awesome Liverpool away kit. Bright yellow, sponsored by Crown Paints. That was kind of magical. And
Yeah.
that was my first foray into it. But since then, in the late 90s, just where I was in London designing for music industry and art and culture, it was that rise of Blur versus Oasis. And I remember they even have a five-a-side thing going on. It was in
Yeah.
Loaded magazine. And that's when it got super interesting to me because it was the confluence of art, design, and music. And then luckily I got to work with Eltel, Terry Venables. He was the English manager at the time, but he was also building out his football academy. And they approached our studio to kind of design the identity for it. So that was kind of the first foray into designing for sports. But I think that music industry and what was happening in London, there was this great exhibit in London in the late 90s called Jam. And it was like jam sandwich, two pieces of bread and jam. And it was a great analogous for what was happening culturally with music, with fashion, politics, all of that. So it was a real blend. So that beginnings is kind of what helped, you know, me shape athletics and the type of work that we did. So, that for me, football and music kind of sits at the heart. It's not the
Yeah.
job that maybe perhaps pays the bills day in, day out, but we have grown to kind of like carve out a little bit of our space in that, with Major League Soccer, helping them rebrand in 2015.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I did that with a real good friend of mine. He's a Sunderland lad, and he's now the chief business officer at Sunderland.
Okay.
So, that was great. We got to like work on, well, what is this new chapter at MLS? And it was pre the Premier League rebrand. Premier League actually came to us post that and like talked to us about the journey and the process. So that was kind of a really integral part in sort of our first foray as athletics into into sport. Yeah, I've had a long career of doing sport from snowboarding to ice hockey to trail running to outdoors to standing sideways culture. But in soccer, like that was the first thing, or football. Sorry, I'm
No,
kind
no.
of translating, speak multi language.
Different
Um,
markets. Yeah.
yeah, so that was our first sort of foray into sport, athletics.
Yeah. We'll talk about the MLS because obviously you work in the US. That is the football or soccer going on over there.
Hmm.
It's becoming more and more popular. Franchise average franchise is now 721 million 2025. Attendance averages are up to about 25,000. How significant do you think has brand exposure been helping the league grow in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely, and I think the sort of socio-economic of the fan base of North America has really influenced as well, like the shape of the game with the Latin voice, the Spanish voice coming in. It's a huge audience, and they've really brought the noise, brought the culture, brought the skill. And I think that's up to a lot of the game. Historically, soccer in North America has always been a pay to play sort of place. Even as a kid, it was kind of a middle class game because you would pay, you would go, you get all the gear, and it was very organized. It
Yeah.
wasn't I'm walking to school kicking a ball against the wall or on the ground, like in the UK. That was just part of the DNA. It's what you did.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
put your school bags down, you head against the wall, you had a game.
Very much the
You
working
know,
man's game
it,
over here,
it
isn't it?
to
Yeah,
totally. And that was the origins and the DNA of some of the best clubs out of the shipyards or
yeah,
weaving or potters or whatever it may be. And it never really had that. I think the equivalent I would say in North America is really like the NBA as far as basketball is a street game. It's a city. It's a game born out of the city and sort of in maybe underserved areas. So there was always that little bit of change, but I think that's changing a lot more now, and certainly in these other cities and clubs. 94 World Cup was a big moment for North America. I think 2026 even a bigger moment, and sort of the span of that time, the game's only got bigger. and sort of the depth and the levels that it goes. It's a different business model, obviously, here than it is in the UK. There's not like that promotion relegation aspect of it, but there are other leagues beyond MLS, USL that have divisions. There are towns and small towns and villages that have teams. New York is a soccer city. It's had a youth club for the oldest one in North America is 100 years old. We actually just did the identity for it. It's called Yoa. It has Norwegian roots. So there is that. There's lots of like inputs and that are really affecting the change in the game. I think you said what's the franchise valuations reaching 721 million,
Yeah,
attendance averaging over 23,000 in 2025. The expansion of the teams is getting better, the quality is getting better. So I think, strong branding has really helped legitimize the league and attract kind of new audiences. With Apple Seasons Pass, obviously that was a big moment for MLS, having that exposure and having that level of quality. I think consistent visual language across clubs. I think MLS has done a lot of work with a lot of clubs and teams. Seattle Sounders is one of the oldest, and again, another client of ours that's 55 years, 50 years, I forget. Started out with a really kind of strong base and a strong fan base. They sell out 65,000 in the stadium at any one game. I mean, that's kind of impressive,
impressive.
but
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think they've got really strong kind of identity and story, and they're starting to build that tradition and that lore where European clubs or British clubs have had that sort of DNA from the beginning. So I think storytelling and design really are making the sport feel aspiration and globally relevant, I think, in North America because the story is becoming more authentic and clubs really try hard to kind of ignite that authenticity, not just what they're projecting out from a marketing department, but like the events and the things that they do and the supporters club having a voice in how brand are is shaping itself, for these teams.
You mentioned Seattle Sounders there, um, and I noticed you mentioned this community feel. The team at Athletics interviewed people, players, alumni, but also fans, season ticket holders. Why was that input so important when building the project?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. Fans are the heartbeat of any football club. They really are. And that is the same globally and same here in North America. And there's really strong and loud fan base with clubs like Seattle Sounders. You spend a lot of money on a season's pass. You put a lot of hours into doing, say, community outreach. You go to these games, you support your team. These are fans that like live and breathe it. The same as, I don't know where you're from, Max, but you're probably a
Blackburn.
diehard soccer. Pardon?
Blackburn. So we were
Are you from
diehard
Blackburn?
about 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you still love your home team and
Yeah.
you live and breathe it, and you kind of your eyes roll back in your head when you are talking about your club. And it's the same
Yeah.
here. I think, like I said, fans are the heartbeat of any football club, and their voice really legitimizes the brand. And it was important for the club to reach out to them and do a lot of work with them. When we built the work, we a lot about what it is that we do is about really getting great perspectives. So you make that work feel authentic and grounded in local pride. The last thing we want to do is come out and be like, here's your crest, and not speak to anyone. There's just a lack of authenticity and disregard for the people that really care about it. So yeah, while they're maybe not all creatives or designers, they still have a point of view. And our job and our role is to translate that. In sort of, with Seattle, the process really created, it was all around emotional ownership and fans seeing themselves in the crest and the identity and the system, to help sort of shape what that final design was. That was such an important part, a major part of getting to it. The design is almost the easiest and quickest part because you can once you formulate all those ideas and you sort of distill it into a creative brief that is informed by these fans, the output equals all these great narratives and stories and depths and sort of insights and subtleties. With Seattle, it wasn't just the one crest. Those stories about carnations and They had a player and a manager who was from Dundee, he used to play with Dundee FC,
Wow.
who was part of that DNA. And there was a moment in time where they would give out carnations to the fans that came to the club. And it's that beautiful romantic storytelling.
Yeah.
It was important. In their early days, they had a killer whale because Seattle and the sound and the Puget Sound, the killer whale was an iconic mascot back in the day, and they brought that back. It's just again a homage to the people that were there 50 years ago, trailblazing this new sport in North America. So again, that was an important give back
Yeah.
um, to the club and the DNA, and it was very important that the work strategically and narratively kind of reflected that.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the episode. I just wanted to tell you something a little bit exciting about what's coming at the Business of Football. As you may know, we were just a podcast. Well, now the Business of Football is expanding. We are becoming the Business of Football Network. The network aims to bring access, deeper insights, and further coverage of the business of football. Some of the most well-respected professionals, to some of the most new, underground businesses that are starting within the football industry. We aim to cover them all. We'll be covering across all different football events, media webinars, platforms, and anything insightful and engaging in the world of football. And you can join us. You can now become part of our growing community through our free WhatsApp group chat. And there's a little bit more. For those of you that want further, more personalized content, we are opening up the Business of Football's The Club. The Club will give you premium inside content analysis in some of our most tailored opportunities, including Q&As, guest appearances, and much, much more further exclusive content. We will get to know you and what you want in football. So why not join us? Click the link in the description below and head to our free website. Become part of our community and even consider subscribing to the club. We can't wait to see you there, and we look forward to hearing more about your story. Now, back to the episode.
Oh, that's nice. I can see where they are and the sort of strategies coming together here and combining all those together. It's really nice.
Yeah,
You mentioned earlier as well about sort of it being a middle class game for like young children. But you've done work with MLS Go, which
yeah,
is a recreational youth league. Um, and that's sort of trying to close the accessibility gap and encouraging young people to play football, mainly in cities, really, where it might be a little bit harder.
yeah.
Um, what was the experience like working on their brand identity? And is it important? I think I already know this, but for athletics to engage a community.
Yeah, totally. We always, as an agency, try and do one or two projects every year that is about local community on our doorstep. Even more hyper local than, projects like MLS Go, because that was at the national level. So that community is important to us. I think that's just part of our DNA where we can give back a little bit. For MLS Go, it's super interesting. We've kind of, as an agency, been able to touch every step of that cycle of life soccer in North America. So MLS Go is, as you said, it's that recreational youth league. They partner with leagues like AYSO, which is sort of your first time you're going to kick a ball, you would probably join in with clubs and leagues like AYSO, but this is MLS's distinct version of that, partnering with people like the YMCA or Parks and Rec, where there is space
Yeah,
and there is a ground, and they really want it to be part of that cycle because like yes, we've touched MLS Go, we built the identity for that. That was really about empowering kids to feel part of something bigger, MLS. And really love the joy of the game, not just the competition, because I think that's important. I have two girls who play in travel teams. And American sports is why they're probably the best athletes in the world because it's highly competitive. But the drop off from playing to kind of, going the full distance is massive. Obviously, not everyone's athletes and we're not all gifted with physical prowess or
yeah,
skill, but it's important to like really embody that love of the game. And I think that joy and not just the competition was really important to us. And that really helped inform kind of the design language. We have the little mascot, he's called Socks, or they are called Socks. He's
yeah,
and that really needed to kind of be inclusive, playful, and approachable. And we took cues from, some of the classic mascots of our time, whether it be Olympics or World Cup. We've always had a mascot. There's been a mascot of some kind. We really wanted to kind of play homage to that little GO character.
yeah,
So, I mean, for athletics, community engagement is non-negotiable. It's what turns a brand into a movement. So, we're fortunate to kind of help name it build the strategy, work very closely with MLS and building out what that experience is and the identity and how that kind of goes to market. It was our concept partnering with the clubs. So all the kids, if you see them, they're all clubs from various cities, wherever these go to, where the MLS Go markets are, but they're branded differently. They have the little socks character pattern kind of all over. And it's just a really nice way for kids to come in and make them feel awesome. They've got these
Yeah.
shirts that they recognize from their home city teams, but it's something a little bit different. With MLS Go, again, we've done that. We've also worked with I talked about, the Norwegian team. That's like one of the oldest 100-year-old travel teams in NYC. We work with MLS, which is the platform, continue to work with them, kind of tuning and building out new engagements, new ideas, and then work with professional teams like Seattle Sounders, Nashville. We're working with Orlando Pride right now too, which is the women's team in the NWSL. So it's just cool. Like again, we're really starting to like hopefully kind of connect the dots from your first days putting your boots on, kicking the ball around, all the way to the end. And I think you mentioned it. There's this pay to play sort of aspect of soccer in the US, but that's changing a lot with things like MLS Go, partnering with people like YMCA to kind of really bring it to everybody, which is super important.
Yeah. And things are probably going to continue to grow after the summer. The states have got ahead with obviously Mexico and Canada with the World Cup coming.
Yeah.
You've recently written about designing brand experiences that can sort of unite fans. Firstly, how can teams, sponsors, cities make the most of this opportunity? And why is it sort of important to reflect regions' footballing and cultural roots?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the US is truly a melting pot, like many major cities or towns in the world. So it's important that, it is this cultural amplifier. And I think that's where teams and clubs can really show up. It's about really celebrating that local identity kind of on a global stage. And, we're doing a project just now. It's a self-starter project. It's called And Friends. And it's sort of it's kind of what's the word for a profile of all these amazing soccer teams that exist in New York City that actually play games every day at various cracked concrete courts, grassy fields, blaze, wherever they can find a space they're playing out. So it's the antithesis actually of the World Cup. It's not glitzy, it's not polished. It's like celebrating these teams that do it and they love it. And I think the spirit of that, I think, is what's important, in what clubs and teams and brands that are going to be kind of in the space, because everyone wants a piece of that during World Cup, is really to kind of celebrate that local identity and do it and lean in a very authentic, not generic spectacle, like do it in an authentic way.
Yeah, of course.
Um, that I think is super meaningful. So I think the only way to do that is to really tap into these local cultures and have them part of it in an authentic way. I mean, I think great design connects place, culture, and emotion, and I think that's really what creates lasting legacy long after the World Cup's gone. Yeah, you can do moments in time and kind of badge the Messi moment or the next superstar in the World Cup, but like I want to hear about the people behind it,
Yeah,
that are powering it day in, day out, whether that's in Blackburn or whether that's in Brooklyn. I think that's important. So that's what's we're excited about the World Cup for, from a sporting landscape is like, what are the other nooks and crannies we can get into, to sort of spread the story, spread the love, and do it in an authentic way. And Friends, our own self-starter project, is kind of one way to do that. So we're excited about it. But yeah, it's the World Cup. It's the best event in the world. We're excited that it's on our doorstep. Will I get tickets? Who knows?
who
I'm
knows?
trying my best.
It's going to be
Yeah.
an exciting one for sure, like spread over three nations like that. It's a lot of
Yeah.
mileage. But
Yeah, I don't know
you
how I'm going to get to that.
yeah, yeah, you might have to pick and choose. Yeah, Scotland, you maybe can get a ticket for them. Are they in it this year?
Well, we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see. It's the
still
jury's
yet,
out.
isn't it? Yeah,
We're still in there. We're still in the playoffs.
McTominay,
hopefully.
he's looking good at the minute. Scott McTominay.
Yeah,
He's been
I
a bit of a
think
surprise.
he's liking his pasta. He's got better suits. He's got a
Yeah,
great haircut.
yeah,
I think Napoli love him. Um,
yeah.
yeah, he's
He's
doing
a
good.
yeah. Can you tell us about the use of AI to analyze fan behavior? What are the benefits for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think back to kind of like targeting. Targeting is a scary word, but like really speaking sort of uber detail to the individual, to the place, to the fan. I think AI is really going to provide sort of real-time insights,
Yeah,
into fan sentiment, engagement, expectation, like all of those things. I think it's just going to be able to like get you more information about maybe the things that you really care about on a hyper
yeah,
personal level. um, I'm not, who knows, the jury's out on it, but I'm excited about the opportunity of that. Like if it can really speak to me, in a way that feels authentic. I think the beauty though is going to be able to do that with real voices and real people. I think the sort of overlay on the games, because I know UEFA and FIFA are really pushing that in the games as far as the overlay graphics and kind of the insights can benefit. I think that's exciting. I still want to be spoken to though by real people, but I think that
yeah,
idea of providing real-time insights to the fan, I think is important. I think it probably allows for, like I said, personalized experiences, from content to like the match day activations, like all the new tech that UEFA is pushing, FIFA's pushing. I think the key is really about balancing, like I said, data with humanity.
yeah,
I should deepen that connection, but not replace it. I still want regional accents. I want happy accidents. As long as it's beneficial for Scotland if they make it in the World Cup, I want happy accidents.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want that flow of the game and the irreverence to still stay. But I am excited about that deeper veneer that maybe it can provide from, a digital or graphic or motion experience, from a
yeah,
brand standpoint. I think that could be pretty cool.
yeah. Can I just ask you about you've probably seen in the news about a lot of mainly La Liga games potentially being played abroad. I just wanted to know your thoughts on that, like accessibility for games. And we've been talking a lot about community. Do you think that could help a more global community, or do you think it's unfair for maybe the local fans who go week in, week
Ooh,
out?
that is a hot topic you're
Yeah,
touching
yeah,
on there. Um, I know the idea of exhibition matches are exhausting and take up a lot of time and almost sort of looked at as passe, I think. For the players, probably they're knackered. They've done multiple leagues. They get to the summer and they've got to fly to wherever to kind of do sort of an exhibition match. So I don't know where I'm going with that. But I have seen things like it sort of happened with the NFL. They came to Spurs Stadium. Obviously, Spurs has designed their stadium to kind of accommodate football. I've seen that happen. I think it's upset a lot of fans on this side of the fence just because people pay for their season's pass. They pay for kind of being there every Saturday sitting down. So I think with the old diehards, like that's their life, that's their center point. That's what they do at the weekend with their family. I think that's tough. If there could be some kind of offset that accommodates that in a way that everyone wins, I don't know, like what that may be, can does the club offset that? Do they give back because a game is maybe in, Atlanta, Georgia over being in, Arbroath, Scotland? Like, again, they won't be playing overseas, but
you never
as
know.
I can fantasize
Yeah,
right now. So I think it's a tough one to contest. Will it expand global reach? Yeah, I mean I've attended some quite a few MLS All-Star games, and that's pretty much the best of MLS players, and that's a mixed bag. North American players, you know, players from all over the world who are ex-Premier League or La Liga or Serie A or Liga MX. They're all playing North American. They group together. Messi was on one of the teams, and they play against like Arsenal or Bayern
yeah,
or Liverpool. I mean, it's sellout stadium. Most of the fans there are not supporting the MLS team. They're supporting the team that's there. They don't do that anymore for that reason,
right.
because it was starting to outweigh the populace of MLS. So, I think there is a need of some shape or form. I just don't know what the mechanics of it are right now because, if I was a ticket holder and I was back home and, my team's not showing up and, this is the date that I really wanted to see and they're playing overseas, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But I do think at the same time, clubs need to survive and they need to expand and kind of spread the word. But you can't be all things to all people either. Like I think that's when brands get saturated and you lose that edge. So I will leave it at that. But
Yeah.
that was a non-answer for you, Max. But I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
there's
No, I think you've done
benefits
all
of
right.
both.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You've looked above. Yeah, yeah. I don't think you've upset
Cool.
anyone there.
Okay. Cool.
Design's very important to you, obviously. You are the. Oh, sorry. Just a second. You are the Chief Creative Officer at Athletics.
Mhm.
Could you talk maybe specifically what goes into something like the Sounders, MLS Go, any of the many projects you've been involved in? What are you looking at when trying to represent these brands? What is the design? Why is the design so important?
Yeah. I mean, I have this fancy title that was not my idea, but yeah. I
Right.
mean, I am I lead creative here in athletics, and I think I sort of taken that energy of when I first opened that Liverpool kit in 1977 and the first record sleeve that I designed, and even going into record stores where you open it, you read the vinyl, you read the tracks, like that energy, that excitement. I always use that as an analogy of like what I want every project to be, whether it's, for a top flight football club or if it's for technology for say Google or whatever it may be. I think it's important that you have this visceral kind of excitement and energy. But, to get to that point, it's not just about, okay, let's open the toolkit and start making shapes and colors and hope it hits. I think every project starts with an understanding of the core truth of what that brand is or what that team is or what that singer may be like. Why does it exist? What's its purpose? And the emotion that it wants to evoke. So I think that's a lot of what we do first and foremost. We do work that gets to work fast and we try and understand and step into the shoes of the problem. And it starts there and really about distilling like what's the core, what's the heart of it, what's the center of it. And that's informed by, for soccer teams like fan input. For a huge technology brand, it's like, what's the problems? Who are sort of some of the competitors in this space? What is the space that we can play into? So I think first and foremost, it's about that, capturing that idea, and then everything really sort of kind of resonates out from that. If that sits at the center, how does that impact color? How does it impact shape, fonts, photography, motion, sound? So a lot of the work we do is about, I like to call it prototyping because the first thing we usually build, which is ultimately what I love the most, kind of gets torn down and rebuilt up. And it's rare the first thing you do kind of makes the run. Although Nashville was one of the first marks we did, and the owner loved that. And that was an amazing experience building that identity. So that's the first thing we do. And then really from there, it's like jigsaw. It's like a Lego kit. You start piecing it together. Brands don't sit in isolation anymore. Yeah, you have a crest and a soccer shirt that sits here, but it activates and permeates into culture in different ways, like how people speak about it, the sideline graphics, the food that they're eating, the noise that goes along with the logo or the Sonic brand, the stories it needs to tell, the advertising, the social. So we have to like design that entire ecosystem that wraps around that. And I think part of what we really believe in, I think what we're good at athletics is believe we do work that really gets to work fast and it gets out there and gets into the hands of the people using it. We're not powering these brands every day. It's got to go in the hands of Nashville or the Sounders or the Orlando Pride, and it doesn't sit on a shelf gathering dust. So, from that inception of the brand idea to like creating a prototype, workshopping that with clients and audiences to make sure that's right, developing the look and feel that is visually impactful, makes sense, gets to work fast doing that. And then putting that out in the hands of the people so they can get to work fast. We see a brand as a living system. It's not just a logo, it's not just a campaign. And I think throughout of that, which is key, is collaboration is key. We are creative partners, we're not vendors. And that's something that maybe it's my Scottish upbringing, but I like conversation. I want to be at the same table with everyone. I don't want to be subservient. I want to be in the conversation, creating and developing with you, because ultimately that's just when work that feels authentic and drives cultural and business impact is good
Yeah.
because it's real. So that's kind of in a nutshell um, our creative process and what it takes to kind of put brands out there in the world.
Thank you very much. Malcolm, you've been a pleasure to have on. Before you go, who is your team, by the way? I feel like I forgot to ask you. Is it Liverpool?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Well, I have multiple teams because I've lived in different places, but
Yeah, of
my
course.
my Arbroath is where I grew up, so that's my home team. That's my safe place where I go back to, and
Yeah.
um, I grew up on Sundays watching Celtic with my grandfather, so he was a Celtic fan, and the smoke of the cigarettes and the bacon rolls
Yeah.
is embedded in my mind on a Sunday afternoon watching Celtic play.
Yeah.
So there's that. But my first kit and my first love, just because they had such a strong Scottish presence and DNA, from the 50s, 60s, 70s on. Um, seeing Graham Souness going in for a sliding tackle and Kenny Dalglish kind of, juking around players. That really just resonated with me. And, getting that kit in the box. I remember it was a silver box. It opened up and it was the top and the shorts and the socks on either side. And it's the first time I'd seen someone present it to me like that. So that stuck with me. So I'm a big, yeah, Liverpool fan through good and bad.
Yeah. I won't put it against
Yourself?
you. Yeah.
What about yourself?
I'm Blackburn Rovers, yeah. To be honest,
Okay.
I've got a lot. Yeah, Kenny Dalglish, obviously, before I was born, unfortunately, but won us the title. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I've got I'm not so much Liverpool. I'm not the biggest fan of him, I can't lie. But yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's nice.
Well,
I like
great.
the Celtic link, so as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's such sort of there's kind of alignment between Celtic and Liverpool. They're both born out of the shipyards and that real working class DNA. Obviously,
Yeah,
one
definitely.
is maybe a little closer to that than the other, but
Yeah, yeah,
um, the DNA of it. And King Kenny, with
yeah. Of
Blackburn, with
course.
Liverpool, with Scotland, wherever he went,
Yeah.
just a good human being.
No, definitely a legend. Yeah.
Max, this has been a pleasure. Thanks for letting me talk about football for 38 minutes.
No, thanks for coming on. This is actually the first one of these I've done, so I was a little bit nervous actually.
Oh, you nailed it.
Oh, cheers, mate. Thank you. Yeah, I was more worried about the recording of it, and it looks like it's all gone all right. So, no, thank you
So
very
what do
much
you
for your time.